I'm going to keep this video short because a lot of things I've done here in Singapore I've kind of covered, but I still have some things that I was able to discover on my second week there that I wanted to share. Yes, there was more hot days and some rain, but not that bad. So all in all, I think the biggest thing for us was that our feet were just killing us of all the walking that we were doing, and we had to find a spot, get a massage done, recovered, and then spend some time chilling out in the hotel, catching up on some work, and putting together some videos for you guys to watch. With our time limited to 1 week, it was time to relax for a little bit and test out some areas that we haven't seen. Well, when I say I haven't seen, we just wanted to, see some other things in Singapore. So we changed hotel, we ended up going to the Dorset, and we walked around that area and realized that, we did come down into this area on our first day. Remember I talked about walking around for 8-point-something miles? Yeah, we pretty much walked all over Chinatown, and we just didn't realize where we were until being here for a few days. Now you know where things are kind of located. Like, we were there. We saw that, which was kind of cool. So the Dorset is actually close to the Maxwell Hawker Center, and we went over there for some more food. Now, the food is actually pretty good at the Hawker Center, and we did discover another shop. Well, actually, I think there were 2 shops that had some long lines there. Most of the food stalls weren't open, and I don't know why that was. Maybe it was the time of the day when we went, because we weren't actually going exactly at lunchtime or exactly at dinner time or exactly at breakfast time. So when we got there, the lines were pretty long, and all we did was just basically took a quick video of the spot. There was in particular this dumpling spot that we gave up after we walked around, and the line was going to take a while, and someone goes, come back another day. It's really good. Trust me, it's worth it. You're going to want to try it. Some of these food stalls here in the Hawker Centers are also listed in the Michelin Guide. I've also found out that there were a couple, or at least one that I did read about, Hawker Chan, that lost their rating, but the food was pretty good. I didn't actually get the chance to go back, but my wife did. While I was editing videos, she went out to do laundry, and she hopped over there, and lo and behold, there was no line, so she actually got us some food, which worked out to be pretty good. I also mentioned that if I found a Caribbean restaurant, I would put that in here. And yes, we did find one. It's called the Limehouse, but we'll get into that a little bit further on. The Maxwell Street Hawker Center was not too far from our current hotel, so that made it easier to get to, and we enjoyed just taking a stroll and heading over there to pick up some food. For me, having fresh fruit, coconut water is my specialty when I'm in Southeast Asia. I find it much more refreshing than just regular water, especially as you're going to be walking around town a lot. So far, I would say that it has done its job for me, because normally I'd be drinking a lot of water, but I find that I can still get around without carrying a bottle of water with me everywhere I go. And on the second trip, we decided to kind of walk through buildings and enjoy the AC as much as we could, just so we didn't have to be out in the hot sun all the time. So here's a view of the shopping center leading across to Sentosa Island by cable car. It's pretty cool, but guess what? We are not going to take the cable car. We are going to walk across on the boardwalk right here. We're already halfway across, so we're going to take the rest of it and go over. So the walk over to Sentosa Island wasn't that bad. It started to warm up as we got closer because we stopped along the way to try to record some videos. A lot of it we couldn't use because as people passing by on bicycles, the boardwalk made a lot of noise, so that just kind of messed things up for the audio. Why? So yeah, we just went over, and when we got there, it was getting humid. It was starting to sweat at this point, so we saw that SeaWorld was open, so we went into SeaWorld to check it out, and here's some pictures and videos from that visit. So after we left SeaWorld, we went out to check out some food, and we noticed that there was a sign for the casino. We didn't actually go down there. We just kind of looked from the top of the section, looked at that. We're not gambling people, so it was not our thing. The food was pretty good. The restaurant wasn't that busy, and I guess it's still COVID time, so a lot of places aren't as busy as it used to be. But we did walk around the area, and then we saw a festive walk, and we took a little walk over to see what it was all about. It didn't seem like there was much there, because when we got there was a hotel that we entered, and it was like most of the stuff from the other side was construction. So I guess they're taking the time while things are closed to redo some things out here. But we decided, let's take the tram and go by the beachfront to see what it was all about. The beachfront also had some construction going on, so we just kind of walked around for a bit, to see what that was like. There were a couple additional attractions over there, but it was getting way too hot at this point, and we decided that we're just gonna head back over to the main island and then hang out in air-conditioned comfort. We had walked around for this point, so we were a bit tired, and we just wanted to call it quits at that point. So while wandering around on another day, we found ourselves down in the business district. It was interesting to see, being a former corporate worker, it just harkens back to those days of, walking around with your bag, going out for lunch with the fellas, that normal corporate thing that you do. And something in me just said, man, I'm so glad I'm out of that. Because, part of it, there's a bit of joy in going to work and doing some things, but then there are days when you have to work with some really difficult people. And I have to say, not doing that anymore was actually really good, and I'm glad I'm not there anymore. That's all I'm gonna say. It's one of these days I'll tell you the story about my old job and what I used to do and so on. But for now, I just wanted to kind of check it out and see what it was like, and yeah, you're just kind of like, yeah, wow, weight off your shoulder. You don't have to do that anymore. After that experience, we headed back to the hotel, and I realized that the hotel actually had some trees planted on it as well. I talked about the green space and all the green things I've noticed in my first video. And yes, I noticed that there were more buildings that were here, and even the one that we were staying in had some trees on it. So when I went back in the building, I found an area so I could check out the pool, and it was like, wow, the trees are planted on the side, and just the way they have designed it to integrate it into the building was pretty cool. So it's kind of like a get to see it up close and personal. And yeah, still impressed with what Singapore is doing with their green space. Now, that Caribbean restaurant I was talking about, it's not quite a restaurant. I guess it could be a restaurant, but it seemed more like a happy hour spot. They didn't open until later on in the afternoon because we passed by for lunch and it was closed. But around 5 o'clock, 5:30, I think is when we got there, it was open, and we went in to check it out. The drinks were pricey, the food was pricey, We don't drink these days, so you know, the whole happy hour thing, I think it started a little bit later on, a little bit after we got there. We didn't partake in that. Well, that's not true. I did have a drink because I just wanted to try out something with some rum inside of it just to see what it was like. Nothing major. I don't even remember what the name of the drink was, but I did have something and it was pretty good. Now the food is really pricey. They had tapas, and I saw, what was it, oxtail, like a little bread. I think it was like 4 of those, and it was probably like $16 or $18. I mean, that's like a meal in the US. There was an actual oxtail meal on the menu, and if I remember correctly, it was somewhere between $28 and $32. Now, because we had a late lunch, we did not partake in the dinner, just the appetizers, so that we could actually get a taste of what was there. I tried the jerk chicken. I've had better. It's not bad. Being Jamaican, I like my food spicy. It wasn't too bad. They did bring me some homemade hot sauce, which, yeah, that was like, this thing should have been inside this chicken from the beginning. But, you know, it still made for a pretty good meal. It's not the jerk chicken that one would expect. It's basically Southeast Asian style, meat on a stick. That's the best way I could describe it. You know, in Jamaica, you get like a quarter chicken and a half a chicken, you know, jerk. And we usually have that with some hard dough bread or cocoa bread, which is one of our favorites. But here, that wasn't the case. It was just the meat on the stick with some mango sauce or chutney, whatever they call it, that was on there. Is it worth it? If you are the person who like to do the happy hour thing in the restaurants there, the food is not too bad. I can't speak on everything, but I'd like to try it when I get back, just at least to say, hey, I've went there and I've tried the curry goat and the oxtail, which are the real Jamaican things. Now, they did have doubles, which is famous from Trinidad. I wanted to try that, but we didn't get an opportunity to. And again, for those of you out there in Singapore who like Cuban food, check out the Limehouse. It's got some pretty good stuff going on there, and I think you'd like the food. The atmosphere was really good. It was a vibing place. So with our time in Singapore coming to an end, what do I think of Singapore? I used to say that Hong Kong was my #1 country to visit. That was after, you know, going to Shanghai multiple times. Shanghai was my favorite city. And yeah, I've been there at least 5, maybe 6 times. And I kind of feel like a local. I can get around Shanghai, no problem. Hong Kong, well, it's probably about 4 or 5, because I kind of use it as like my next stopping base when I, you know, wanted to go to Southeast Asia. So that was also my next favorite city. But now, Singapore is now top of my list for favorite city. Not just for the green space, but the fact that they've done so much to improve this little island. It's a big difference from a photo and a video that I remember I saw some years back when I wanted to, you know, visit Singapore. I've always heard about it, but I wanted to see what it was like. And it was really a video about, you know, how they were developing the country, but they were talking about how people were living in really bad conditions, while, you know, some folks are trying to develop the country, and how people were drinking poisoned water. And so it was really not a good thing. But, you know, again, in general, bad news sells. So, you know, you put that bad news out there and people want to watch it. But after Crazy Rich Asian, I saw that, yeah, much like most of the people in America, it opened your eyes to the fact that things are going on and you wanted to go and see it. So I'm actually glad I've been here to check it out for myself and see what it's like. My first trip, again, was a weekend trip. This time it was for 3 weeks long, with a week over in Phuket. But still haven't seen a lot of the country. I have to come back and see more. But for all of you here who are from Singapore, you guys got a great country. Everything about it so far has been great in my experience. The people are nice. Never had any issues. With that, I'm going to close out the video, and I'm going to ask those of you who've been watching the channel, if you like the videos, please give it a like. And also, consider subscribing. I mentioned that I'm going to be traveling around Southeast Asia trying to find a country to live in, and I've decided that being in the US is not the place where I want to be anymore. So come along with me on my journey. Subscribe, 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 subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.